Well, hello out there. Welcome to Friday Live of Tell Your Story. You, our audience, are now part of a weekly live YouTube video and podcast. Thank you for being here. If you were having a bad day, let us brighten it up, and we're glad that you're here. As people are moving in, just so anybody knows, today's topic is about building wealth in sobriety. Even if not in sobriety, it's about taking more time to rediscover and understand your finances. And we're going to take a small look at what wealth is, what it might be, and where you could go with it in the near future. Right now, we are recording a podcast, and we are live with a community that hopefully jumps in on watching the video here. We've already got some people rolling in. Looks like Mary Lou, she's back again. She says, hey, all. Yeah, hey back, Mary Lou. Thanks for being with us on our second episode. As a recap of last week, we went live for the first time last Friday and talked a lot about what we're doing to stay positive and stay productive during the quarantine right now during a pandemic. Corey and I are still cooking at home and I guess enjoying each other over the weekend. We have a long weekend right now because it's Easter. And, we're spending these 3 days doing a lot of cooking, I went outdoor and did some biking this morning. She and I actually did a 5-mile hike the other day on what we call the River Walk here in Columbus, Mississippi. It's basically a 5-mile trail all the way down and back. And we're super excited to talk more today on a different topic. So if you're here, hey, thanks for being here. And after we've gone over that recap, I think we're going to do a little update of what we're doing tomorrow. On tomorrow's note, we have an interview coming in, a gal who's got a story of sobriety, and she has reinvented herself as a productive member of society. Her name is what was her name? Stacy. Stacy has an incredible story from her past to now where she is, and we're excited to be a part of that, to take it down and to add it to the library of stories that we're putting together for our community of people to reach out. And especially right now while the pandemic's going on, they've got stories to listen to and watch if they're missing out on meetings. And I mean meetings being that if somebody is in recovery, they can, and we have them as a part of a playlist. So if you were a part of a program where you go to a meeting to hear somebody tell one, we've got a bunch of them for free up on our YouTube page, Tell Your Story. So getting into the topic, this is about finances and, what that means for you now that you've reached a new level of living. And in my in my past, I haven't been so great with finances. In the last year, I left a job that paid super well. In the last 2-3 years, actually, I left 2 jobs that paid really, really well to kind of reenact a design for my life. I'm trying to take my life to a new tier. And man, in my alcoholism, I had to step down from what was probably the best paycheck I've ever made in my life. Not to 6 figures, but almost there. And when you step back from that and your lifestyle is up here, but your paycheck is now down here, finding a way to balance that is insane. So I've had to learn a lot over the past few years, making a certain amount of money and how and where to put that money to work for me. So it looks like we got, hey Clark, Corey's dad is watching. Hi, Dad. Hey, Clark, what's going on? Glad you're watching. So first thing I wanted to do was sort of define what wealth looks like. And if you're watching right now, sitting in your apartment or your house or wherever you are, you should know that you're already wealthy. Now, if that means that you've got children, you got a family, you can't, you're having trouble making your bills every month, maybe you don't have a full-time job, a lot of those things can be worked on. Corey and I have a 2-bedroom, what I guess would be called a townhouse, and we don't pay out the wazoo. We pay literally $600 a month for this place. and we split the bills. It's 50-50. And whether or not that seems like a lot or a little to you, to us, it's actually quite a small bit of our budget. If you're paying, say 40 to 50% of your take-home pay in a mortgage or in rent or in things like that, you should probably get into a little bit of house hacking. We can talk about that a little bit later. But we're defining what wealth looks like. These are the basics. So the facts of what wealth looks like for an American in contrast to like people all over the world. So I was on Google because I love Google, and was doing a couple of fact checks to make sure I was telling the truth on here. And, one of the scary things about the average everyday American is that 40%, and this is just according to a Google search, but it does come from Money on CNN. So this is money.cnn.com. 40% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency expense. Can you cover an unexpected $400 expense? 4 in 10 Americans can't. According to a new report from the Federal Reserve Board, those who don't have the cash on hand say they'd have to cover it by borrowing or selling something. If you were to have $400 in cash, if not in a jar in your closet, I do, or if, like in your debit, on your debit card, a debit card is the same as cash. So if you think you don't have cash, if you've got it on a card in a checking or savings account, it's the same thing. If you don't have $400 to cover something basic, you really need to take a hold of your finances and start budgeting, or create a system where you're helping your money work for you, not where you're having to trade your time for your money. In essence, you're not living paycheck to paycheck. Instead, every time you get your pay, whether that's weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, you pay yourself first so that you don't have to worry about the things like bills and stuff stacking up on you later. We were talking about, like what wealth looks like for Corey and I. She and I don't make 6 figures combined. That's not something that we have gotten to yet. Maybe someday in the future, but the average household with, say, one salary makes close to like $50,000. The average household has $50,000 a year. Now we do make more than that, but the two of us don't have to worry about the money that we're bringing home because we can pay our bills, and then we have some left over for other things in the future. Let me take a second to look here. What's going on? Mary Lou always goes crazy in the comment section. She said her money is in a water jug. So it's similar. I think a lot of people think on the same playing field, where if you're saving cash, sometimes you're saving it literally in a box or a jar in your closet. Yeah, she said in a water jug 3 times. Well done, Mary Lou. Thank you for clearing the air 4 times, 5 times. Okay, keep pressing enter. It's going through, I guarantee you. So in terms of living, when you make $30,000 or less, what does that look like for you? What does that look like for other people? At home, if you make $30,000, in terms of our home and our livelihood, we make what would be a middle class living. If you don't think you're in middle class and you think you're on the lower end of the spectrum, you should probably think about this. According to, and this is another Google search where I've decided to check out facts. Let's see. According to federalsafety.net, a 98% proof plan, meaning you're staying out of poverty. And I'm taking this from my experience, where I make about a little over 30,000 a year. In order to stay out of poverty, you can virtually assure that you can avoid poverty through 3 elementary rules. Now let's just put this in perspective. Complete at least a high school education. If you have a high school diploma, you are basically guaranteed to stay out of poverty. If you work a full-time job, now let's assume that you're making minimum wage, 7, whatever it is. It is possible to live off of a minimum wage job, but you are at the bottom spectrum there. But if you have a full-time paying job and you wait until the age of 21 to either get married, those 3 lessons will keep you out of the poverty line. If you have a high school diploma, if you work and you wait to have kids before the age of 21, you will stay out of poverty. What's really funny is to think that most folks who think that they're at the poverty line don't get to compare their lifestyles to those in other countries. Now, consider the fact that we have superpowers of the world, China, Russia, the US. When you compare what the average American's life looks like towards maybe the Russian lifestyle, one of the things that I love to think about is the apartment that we live in. We did a little house hacking. So Corey pays the half of rent, the same that I pay. And let's say we're paying $300 a month for rent. In Russia, for example, a 2-bedroom apartment is $344 a month. We would end up paying half of what we pay here in Russia for an apartment. Doctors in Russia typically make like $700 or $800 a month. Now, in comparison to what I'm making here, that's 2 weeks of work here, and it's less than that actually. So if you consider the fact that a superpower like Russia out there, these folks it's a communist regime, so these folks are making what would be here the upper echelon of people. Like doctors here making hundreds of thousands of dollars, make less than I do working in the granite field. Take that reflection and understand that you are living an above average lifestyle. Okay. So I had some things in my notes here about, talking about what wealth looks like to you. And coming into sobriety, we've got to understand that sobriety and wealth are along the same lines. So like I stopped thinking about, where money would get me. I was more worried about my relationships. In sobriety, we have, if you were to take on a pyramid scheme and you think about the relationships you've got to manage between customers and other people just to build a business, that's exactly what you're doing coming out of your past vices, say like alcohol or drugs. You want to be wealthy. This is a get rich quick scheme. Let's get rid of our vices. For me, which was alcohol, the day that I become sober, it's not just about money that's going to make me wealthy in the long term. So if I'm looking to become a wealthy man, here's some things that I'm super excited about doing now that I wasn't able to do before when I was out there drinking the whiskey. Right now, I'm building long-lasting relationships, right? So with family, excuse me, a love life, building relationships with Corey and her family, my mom, dad, sister. I am closer now with people that love me than I've ever been because I have an open dialogue about what's going on in here and what's going on in here. And that makes me a rich man. I don't do drugs or drink alcohol. So, my life is now more productive because I'm not using uppers, downers, whatever you call them, to put me in like this, just, I guess you could say, zombie state in a chair where I come home from work and I just die. That's not me anymore. Now I'm a productive member of society, right? So again, I'm a rich man. If you have faith. Now, I don't usually talk about faith on this channel, but if you have a strong faith in a higher power, right now in sobriety is the best time to reevaluate, strengthen, build that relationship. When you build a relationship on faith, you're building a relationship that's growing in here and in here. And for those people that do that, they're rich. The next thing I want to talk about is just the basics. Do you have a roof over your head and do you have a full belly? I just ate a bunch of like sugar cookies, and I had a monster. And Corey's looking at me with disgust because they were her cookies. Well, I bought them, so I mean, technically they're my cookies. But cookies and like I don't have to worry about food. We've got a full fridge, a big old glass of milk. When I have a full belly and I get to climb into a warm bed at night, I'm a rich man. We haven't even talked about finances yet. and it seems like I'm doing pretty well. A lasting, trusting relationship with family and friends that call me because they want to be around me and not because they want to share in my addiction. That's a rich lifestyle. So before you think about your finances and your money and all the things that you have to worry about with bills, remember the basics: a roof over your head, maybe a shower, being clean, and having a full stomach. You are rich already. The question is now that you are grateful for the things that you have, how do you get to the next tier? If you're working, if you have a job, what can you do at that job to increase hours, to increase pay? How maybe can you take the pay you already have and make it work for you? Are you bringing home enough money that you can categorize certain things, budget certain things, and then at the end of the month, have a little left over to either invest in some education, invest in your future for your retirement, or maybe just spend on things that you may not need? We do a lot of all of that, but that's because we have systems in place that help us save money for another day, or put money away so that we don't have to worry in the next month or what we're going to do bill wise. So now that we're on money, I took a poll before I started this live, and it was the same question, or the same fact that I stated before. How many people out there have, and I put 500, not 400, $500 in cash to pay their next bill? How many people have that on hand, ready or accessible, where if an emergency came up, would you be able to pay that bill? And striking, and not exactly what I thought was going to happen, it was like 80-20. 80% of the folks who are paying attention either to our YouTube, Instagram, or just sometimes see my Facebook posts, had $500 to take care of their bill. Now that's a great thing. That's a wonderful thing. It means we're hanging around people that are, for the most part, taking care of what they need to be doing. But when I go on a search engine that has billions of active users a day, and it tells me that 40% of the folks out there don't have even a handful of hundreds to be able to take care of a medical, or a light bill, or maybe something goes wrong on your car. That's a scary thing. 40% of Americans don't have $400 to $500 to take care of a bill. So let's dive into that. Let's talk about systems, tools, things in play that you can use to build your net worth, your cash reserve for emergencies, or even your credit score. Small tools that you can use and plans you can put in place so that next month your net worth is driven up, your credit score goes up, the money in your pocket doesn't burn a hole because you've got plenty in there, just patching it up every single week. So I took that poll, and what I was thinking about was, like, for those that didn't have it, what are the basics? What are the must-have things that you need to start putting a little bit of cash in your pocket every month? And so in my notes here, and I have this tablet here that I took some notes. I said, must-haves for building wealth: a basic financial literacy, keeping tabs on your spending, so again, budgeting, and then a plan for savings. So it's not just about the plan for where to get the money from and where to put it. Once you have that savings, what do you do with the cash that's there? So when we start saving money, or when we talk about the basic financial literacy, that doesn't mean that you need to go out there and learn how to read candle charts for investing in the stock market. Now, there are tools that you can use that do that for you. It doesn't mean that you need to go to the bank and ask, the nearest clerk, do they have a Roth IRA? What's the amount of savings that I need every month to get to a certain goal at the age of 65? Doesn't mean that. A basic financial literacy means that you need a checking and savings account. You need to know on the daily how much money you're spending, and you need to know what your credit score is. If you know those three things, you'll basically be a master of your own world. You'll not always be in control of your money. Sometimes things happen. Life has a way of throwing things in front of us to just, blow it all to shit. I have things that have happened in my life. I don't have the best luck with cars. Now that's possibly because of alcohol in the past, but I don't have the best luck with cars. Sometimes paying things on time. I've never been great at paying things on time. To be honest, I'm a lazy guy. So sometimes I've got to get a good kick in the rear to get going on some of the basics of life. So I want to talk about some tools that you can use. If you don't already, or you didn't already hear it, a checking and savings account. If you don't already have your money being automatically put into a checking and savings account, rather you get your checks in an envelope and you take it like to the nearest bank, or you're that guy that takes his check and goes over to Kroger and pays $3 for them to give you cash back, you need to like reassess the way you're doing things. The first rule of thumb when saving money or building a budget is paying yourself first. Excuse me. And that means making things automatic. Okay. If your job will allow you, ask them to take your paycheck and automatically deposit it into your checking account. Because what that'll do, when that money's put into the bank, some checking accounts offer, percentages of interest to grow. If you have money in a checking account, it might have, oh gosh, it's low, but a real small percentage of interest. And the months that it's sitting there, you might gain a penny or two. That is possible. The next thing I'd say is that with a checking and savings account, you can set up your checking account to automatically send money over to a savings account. Oh God, what does that mean? That if I put my money in my checking account, that it'll automatically save money for me through the month and I never have to think about it? Wow, I just saved you a bill or two, right? So when we're thinking about checking and savings, there's our first tool. Okay. I also wrote down, and somebody sent me an email here. Oh, it's about a recovery meeting. We're not going to that. But what we are doing, let's see, checking account. Okay, so I wrote down a few more advanced things. Mint. If you haven't heard of the app Mint, this is a fantastic tool. It's completely free, and you can take your investments, your checking account, if you have a budget you want to make, you can combine it into this app, this one app that will track everything for you. So I have an account with Mint, and one of the things that I get to check every month, which is awesome, is it updates my credit score. Lets me know every 30 days if I've gone up or down, or if I have new delinquencies, or if I've got like they'll respond to you with certain things that you can do to make it better. Opening a credit card if they think you can jump 10 points doing that. That's a wonderful thing. So tracking your credit score. It'll also track all the money that goes in and out of my accounts, savings, checking, and my investments. So every month I get to see my net worth number going up, down, where it's staying at. They check all of the spending I do. So in my checking account, it'll evaluate all of the different places I'm spending money and put that into a category. So if I've spent this much money, say, if I spend $100 on food a week and I'd set a budget for 50, it'll let me know I'm over that budget. So you can literally plan out and see a graph of where your money's going and how it's getting into that account. By the end of the month, it'll tell you if you've met your savings goal. It'll let you know if you've spent too much money on gas this month. So maybe I'm traveling too much. Or maybe I've spent too much money on cookies when I should have been spending it on things that really matter, rather than building up this guy, my stomach. Okay. Okay, we're going to get a little advanced here. Robinhood. Okay. This is a different tool. If you don't have any experience in trading on the stock market, if you've never opened up a trading account, if you don't already work for a company that has a 401k, one of the simplest things to do in the world is to download an app on your phone like Robinhood and put money in this account. maybe invest it into an index fund or buy some stocks, and it's completely free. If you were to go to a firm like Scott Trade or Fidelity, you would have to pay a broker to put money in an account for you and make trades, and they get commissions on all of that. Yeah, well, skip over all of that. Look into Robinhood. Right now, I use Robinhood to make trades usually on each Monday, and I have it set up automatically. Remember that, to take money out of my account and invest it into certain stocks that I've chosen to grow an account for my future. All right, now 401k. Now this one in particular for I know if she's watching, Christina, I know you have a 401k. This is free money. A 401k, in most situations with a corporate company, is a way for you to invest, and they invest your money into the stock market, and then they might match you dollar per dollar, or 50 cents to each dollar that you put in to grow that investment. So like, I don't have a 401k anymore. When I worked for the Buckle corporate company, they have a 401k, and there are different types of accounts with a 401k. I had a Roth IRA 401k. So what that meant was they would take out a percentage of my paycheck every month and put it into an investment portfolio. And because it was a Roth IRA, that money grows on interest and is not taxed. So by the time I reach the age of 65 and I want to retire, I could take that money out, having grown all of that time, because the money that would have been taken out in taxes, it has not been. So I get all of that compound interest to build and build and build. And by the time I was 65, I would have had quite a bit of money had I stayed in that business for, say 20, 30 odd years. If you have a 401k, get the free money, and every year put a percentage of your money in that 401k. If you have one, there's no reason why you shouldn't be using it. A smart way to do it would be to start at 2%, maybe 3% of your income, and every year go an extra percent in savings. So by the time you hit 10 years of service with whatever company you're in, you've got 10% of your income just being saved every year, and you're not even having to think about it, because by that time you've learned to live off the money that you get on your paychecks, and you're not having to even flinch at worrying about where that money is going. All right, budgeting and a plan for savings. We talked about people not having $400 or $500 a month to put away towards bills. So the way my system works, what I've put into play is that I've learned that I know with my bills and how much I make in my paycheck, I know that I can live off of, and I say live off of being that the money that's taken out and going in, all of my bills, any food, gas, things that we need, I can live off of $500 every 2 weeks in my account. Okay, so the rest of the money that's in my paycheck goes towards two things. One, investments into a stock portfolio, and two, into a cash reserve that I have for an emergency fund. So I have two things working for me. One, investment portfolio that keeps growing. Two, a stock reserve of a stash of money over here, and in the bank where I get to keep cash for whatever I need for the future. So by the end of every month, not only have I covered my bills and I'm not living paycheck to paycheck, but I also have money that's in this little area that covers all of my bills for the next month. So that weight is just taken off my shoulder. How did I make that plan? How did I get to that point? The idea is that you need to come up with a plan, or you need to evaluate where you're spending your money. This is why that app Mint is so popular. In Mint, after it's tracked all of my spending, and I've created a budget for each category. Say for food, want to spend $50 a week in food. That may not seem like a lot, but for us that are cooking at home, $50 can make you some massive meals. I'm just saying. After I've looked at my budget and seen that I've overspent or underspent, I know how much I'm spending each week, and I can come up with a dollar amount that's safe. So for me, that was $500. So every 2 weeks, and this is within a 14-day period, my account will be at $500. While that doesn't sound like a lot, for those with kids and other things, that is a very small amount of money. So I understand that we're all working from different numbers. We all have different jobs. But for me personally, I'm not living a minimalist lifestyle. I promise you that. But that $500 covers all of my basic needs. And then the rest of my money goes towards investments and paying my bills. So that $500 sits in my account, and through the first week, those first 14 days, I gave myself a $20 budget a day to pay for food, gas, whatever I need. And if you do the math, after 14 days with $20, I'm still under $500 from my budget from day to day by the end of every 2 weeks, because every 2 weeks that account's just going to go back to a $500 balance. But I'm spending less than that on the things that I need and the things that I want. And part of that is by knowing my budget and by hacking a couple of things. So this next section is about things that you can cut from your life to help you save money. So for instance, Corey and I both had gym memberships that were costing us not much. It's like Planet Fitness is like $20 a month. And then every year they take like an annual, some kind of payment, which is usually, maybe $50 within a year. So we decided to cut our gym membership because we weren't going to the gym, so I didn't need it. So I cut it. Monthly subscriptions. She and I love monthly subscriptions. She and I both actually had a monthly subscription box. Mine was for Bespoke Post. It was like $50 a month. They send you a box full of cool stuff. She had one for who?
Well, I had a quarterly box for
a quarterly box,
and then a monthly box of Ipsy.
Oh, okay. She had an Ipsy box. She had another box, and makeup. They were sending her like umbrellas and cool stuff, and while all of this is neat, you forget that that's taken out of your budget, right? So we canceled those. That saved us another 50, maybe even $60 a month. And then, she and I, with an apartment, if you think about it, if I were to live here alone, I would be paying $600 a month for a townhouse, $70, $80 for another bill, $80, $90 for another bill here. It discovered that you can live in an apartment with two people rather than one, split the bills in half. Imagine cutting your bills in half just because you have a roommate. How much money that would save you a month. Oh my goodness. What a cost cutter. We also, got rid of we don't have cable. I don't know who in their mindset thinks they need direct TV anymore, where they're always changing the packages to include things, upwards of $150 to $200 a month for these ridiculous channels that you'll never watch. Netflix is something like what? $12.99 a month. And we get movies, TV shows, anything and everything we want to stream. We also have a Hulu account. No, we don't. We have an Amazon account. So Amazon Prime and Netflix. The only monthly thing that we're paying for that's super expensive is probably our Wi-Fi. Our internet is something like $50 a month, $55. But, we also cut into our cell phone bills. If you've got internet at home and then internet at work, why would you buy a $90 a month phone plan? Why are you in a contract to begin with? If you have decided to go to AT&T and open up a contract where they've got to look at your credit score just to figure out if you're capable of paying $10 a month for a brand new iPhone, you're ridiculous. Go to Walmart, pick out a $100 Android phone or one of the later versions of an iPhone, like an iPhone 7, and pay right out for that phone, and then pay what we're paying is $35 a month for a plan that gives us data, it gives us free call and text, everything we need for $35 a month. Now, if I stop paying that $35 a month, I get to keep my phone. If you stop paying your $90 bill with Verizon for whatever phone you have contract-wise, they get to report that to the credit bureau and take your phone back if you don't give it back. So just remember that small changes like that can have a huge ripple effect in your finances. Let's see. We talked about phone, cutting, house hacking, cooking at home, making meals at home rather than going out to buy a $50 plate. Corey and I went to get some food out the other day. And I was like, man, let's go get some Buffalo Wild Wings. And she was like, yeah, that sounds amazing. We show up there to order a plate of wings for the two of us and what, a Coke?
Yeah, we each got
a medium plate
and a medium drink.
It was $50 for the two of us. Now, I'm not going to be too picky here, but let's say you decide to go to Kroger and buy a big pork tenderloin, some asparagus, and potatoes. You're going to spend $20 and you're going to feed two people and then get lunch for the next day rather than spending the whole $50 for that. I'm telling you, eating at home will change your life if you learn how to cook a little bit. Get on that YouTube and search for home cooking, recipes, and you'll find out that you'll end up making like the best meals of your life. What were you saying? Pinterest. Pinterest is amazing. They post the greatest meals of your life.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Corey has made some meals that have sort of like, if the rule of thumb ever was that food is the way to a man's heart, I'm surprised I hadn't put a ring on it yet. All the single ladies. So now I want to talk about, making more money. No, better yet, we're going to back up. Car insurance. If you're paying $250 a month for a car payment, by the time you've bought even a used car or a new car and it's left the lot, the value of that car goes down by something like 50%. I mean, if you're buying new vehicles, I'm not going to say you're an idiot, but I am going to say that you shouldn't buy new vehicles. Buy used. If you don't have the cash on hand, or if that monthly $250 payment is not like 2% of what you make a month take-home pay, you need to reevaluate your car situation. Take $3,000, go buy you a car with 100,000 miles on it, and it'll last you for the next 5 or 6 years, and you don't have to pay a dime. So if you're paying for car insurance, not only on a brand new vehicle are you paying that monthly $250, $350 leased vehicle, $400 a month, but you're also paying for full coverage. If you have a vehicle that is new, or even from a used car dealership, they want you have to pay, I think legally, on full coverage for that vehicle, which can often be anywhere between $100 and $200. All right. So just take that car and understand that if you can buy a little used, a little older, maybe a few miles, the object is to get you where you need to go. And if you're buying for the brand, man, you are just asking for a hella check that they're getting in the mail, or and they're taking away from your livelihood. So buy a little older, pay a little less for insurance, get a car that's like a couple years old and 100,000 miles, and you're paying like what, $70-$80 a month for insurance, and you're not having to pay for the vehicle because you own that vehicle. By the time you miss one of those payments, maybe 3 on that lease, and they come and repo that, man, you're in trouble. All right. I want to talk about making more money. If you are in a position where you do have a job, you've got that full-time job, and I've said, earlier in the show that a full-time job makes you, gets you a line out of poverty. That's not true for everybody. Some people are out there flipping burgers. Now, if you live in DC and you live in a house with 3 people and that minimum wage is $15 an hour, you're doing something that I probably should be doing. Move out of state, make that minimum wage and move into a brothel with 40 other people. I mean, I'm probably doing something right? Anyway. But if you've got a full-time job and it's hard to make those bills, maybe you do have a family of 4 or 5. You know, my sister is one of those in those cases. She works a great job, but she's got a full family to feed, you know, and that can be really tough. Take some time, take an hour out of your day, grab your bank statement and go through it. Look at the necessary things you're paying for. See if those bills can be cut anywhere. We're talking phone, car insurance, any subscriptions, monthly memberships, those things that you just do not need. Take that extra cash that you just saved and for 1 month, put it somewhere where you can't touch it. Maybe give it to a significant other and say, take this, get it out of my sight and mind. And that way I won't have to think about it. I won't have to use it because that extra money is going to do something for you. What's funny is the math of this is super simple. If you need to make more money, take on a side hustle. There are gurus all over the internet talking about side hustles and ways to make money, and things that you could be doing to put more cash in your pocket. What do you got? You have a full-time job and you're making $12,000 a year. I mean, okay. So I just got this. Corey just put a great question in front of me. What if you've got a full-time job and you're making $12,000 a year? That's tough. Okay. What's interesting, and this was posted by Christina, if you've got a full-time job and you're making $12,000 a year, ask her, I'm assuming that this is $12,000 a year take-home pay and not before taxes.
And she also asked, should I get a second job or a different job altogether? That's
awesome. Okay. One, I think you are only worth what you say you are. So if you have a full-time job and you're making $12,000 a year right now, and you feel that you're worth more than that, go get another job. There are tons of ways to make more money. I can almost guarantee you that a cart pusher at Walmart makes $12 an hour and probably makes more. Say what?
It's take home pay.
Oh, it's take home pay. Okay. Yeah. A person who is out at Walmart and pushes carts in their parking lot, I've heard makes like $12 an hour. If you want to make closer to 15, you could go to Home Depot and go into their electrical section and be somebody that works in that department and make close to 14 to 15 an hour. Get out of that job if you're not happy there and you want to go somewhere else. What did she say? Okay. 12,000 a year. What can you do with that? What's funny, the numbers that Corey and I put together, 12,000 a year is about what I spend on, and I actually spend more like 9,000 a year on all of my bills, including a budget for money, gas, and things like that a year. So what we decided was that in order to, retire, let's say in like 5 to 10 years, we would need to save, say, $10,000 a year for 10 years to have money in an investment account left over that would earn interest enough for us to be to live off of for like 30 years. If you've got a job where you're making $12,000 a year after taxes, look at your bills. If you're paying for an apartment that's, say, even $400 a month, if you're taking home $1,000 a month after taxes, you're almost at 50% of your take-home pay just in the rent alone, and that's not including your electrical, your water, maybe things for your car insurance, stuff like that. Taking a second job can be costly. The reason I say it can be costly is because, one, you're already trading your time to take home pay from one company. Now you're spreading yourself even way thin for a second job where you might add 20 to 40 hours a week. Now you're making 2 paychecks, working, say, 60 hours a week to bring home pay just to make the bills that you need. What I would do is look for a job that pays, $2-3 an hour more if you think you're worth that. And if you do, go out there and look for it. And that doesn't mean that you walk out and find a job, in fast food or something. Go look for something you think is worthwhile. If you feel like you want to go to a retail store that sells clothing and things like that, you can go out there and be a retail merchandiser for 12 to 15 an hour. If you feel like retail is not for you, go find something in the world of medical assisting. Like doctors are always looking for somebody to work at a front desk. And that doesn't always mean that you need a certificate to be able to work as a clerical worker. People will hire you to put files away, to help organize patients and things like that. You just got to be willing to get out there and ask, for a chance to work. I think looking for a second job is not the best idea. I think the best idea is to go out there and look for something that pays better. Now, I know it's a tough time to do that right now, so it may not be the best time right now. The other thing I'd ask is, can you negotiate your salary at work? One of the things that I've done in my job is I know what I'm worth to the granite company I work for. Does that mean I go in there and ask for a raise? Maybe. I've been there for a year, a little over a year now. Maybe I go in there and I say, hey, thank you for having me here. I love being here. But going in there, I might ask for a 50-cent raise. 50 cent to $1 raise is almost $1,000 in a year. So I don't know what $1,000 would do for you, but $1,000 more a year, $100 a month for me pays my phone bill. I got a comment from Mary Lou. She says, side jobs are the best. Cleaning houses, helping other people with yard work, anything, make that money. I'd agree with that. Making money can be as easy or as hard as you make it. I looked into, try to make a skill of mine. Like for example, I'm a good artist. It's what I went to school for. I love to draw and paint, and people will pay the wazoo out for something that's very detailed and very something that you're passionate about. Cleaning houses, that's a great example. I have a story. A couple of years ago, I was living in Denver, Colorado, and I thought it'd be interesting to make a company for cleaning houses, but it was guys, all men. And I bought these black muscle tees that said buff and clean, and they had an arm, like a muscular arm on them. And we got 4 houses a week to clean. It just the overhead was a little more than we were making in the house. But if you can manage to get a vacuum cleaner, some form of mop for a floor, paper towels, and some soap, and then put the word around that you're out doing surface cleans, like vacuuming the floor, cleaning the counters, and then basics around a house, you can make $100 a hit. And that's if you get 4 in a week, $400 a week. I mean, that you're killing it at that point. And Christina just put it out there. If you're making 4 houses in a week, $400 a week, I mean, that's $1,600 a month. You're already making more than what you'd be making at your full-time job. Looking at the comments here, taking a look to see if people are being appropriate. And for the most part, they are. Let's see. I want to get transparent here and talk about what my goals are. Where am I with investments and money? If you have any more questions, please put them in the comment box. I think for Christina, if you have more questions about a job, if you have any ideas about what you want to do in the next few months, where you want to be, job-wise, money-wise, I might have a few more answers for you. And by the way, I know that you in particular have my cell phone number. Give us a call, and I've got a couple of things that we can share about, making plans for money and where to be. I'm going to talk a little bit about where I'm going to be in building wealth in the future. And mine is a simple one. I think I was talking about the math. It's astonishing that people don't know that, $200 into a 401k or an investment fund, an index fund, for 30 years guarantees you retirement. And now I don't know what the number would be, but if I were to put $200 away, even at the age of 32, all the way to 65 into an index fund or a Roth IRA that's spread out over a vast majority of the blue chip stocks on the stock market, I'd have somewhere between $300,000 to $500,000 by the time I was 65. And that's impressive. But we want to kind of cut that in half or even to a fifth of the time. One of the goals that I have in the next year is to build a certain number for a net worth, to invest a certain amount of money, and to build a better number in my credit score. If I were to give true transparency right now, with all of our bills paid and things like that, every month my net worth goes up by about $1,000. And the reason that is because we're very conservative about buying new things and setting budgets for the the food we make and things like that. And that's really the only way I've been able to build anything on top of what I'm making now. And I don't make a lot of money. I am not a rich man by any means. If you were to think, annually spending and making money. What I want to do is reach this thing called FIRE. And for anybody out there that wants to know more about finance and truly retiring in a short amount of time, it's called FIRE. And I have a number. The number I have is $250,000. If I were able to save $250,000, I would be able to retire and live a life that is not luxurious, but I would never have to worry about my bills ever again. FIRE is an acronym, FIRE. It stands for Financial Independence Retiring Early. And I want to reach the first half of that, which is financial independence. So my plan is that within a 5-year period, save up enough money so that I never have to worry about saving again. I'm not interested in retiring. I don't think that I have any need to not be a productive member of society. But if I could save up enough money to that, where someday I could, say in 5 years, I go to work on a Monday and I realize that I hit this number and it's like, now I have the choice to go to work. That to me is freedom. It's freedom to know that if at any moment I'm not happy with the way things are going, I could step away from my W-2 job and just say, fuck it, and move on to something else, something I'm more passionate about, like art or kayaking or mountain biking or just being with Corey more. Those are the things that I'm more interested in these days. And to be honest, those goals are very, very reachable. But the idea is that you've got to take some systems and put them in place. House hacking has been the number one for me. And that means that I live in a place where somebody else carries the weight of some of my bills, like rent, electricity, and Wi-Fi and things like that. When you split those things and kind of knock them down a tone and share it with others, you're gonna see a huge boost in not only your savings but your lifestyle. When we go out to eat and we spend those $50 budgets, what in turn happens is that, like, tonight we're going to have DiGiorno pizza. If you're not a pizza fan, that's not my problem. That's your problem. You need to wake up. Pizza is amazing. Saturday we're going to have like this shrimp Creole pasta. Sunday I've got steaks that I'm going to put on this grill in the back. Thank you, Mark, for buying that grill. Not Mark. Clark. Why did I say Mark? Sorry, Clark. Thank you, Clark. We are going to use the hell out of that thing. I want to be in a safe place. In 1 year, I'd like to be able to say or have a choice. And one of those choices is, could we go somewhere else? Could I pick up from where I am and move to a new location, look for a decent another job doing something else and still be financially okay in the bank? A year from now, I'd like to say, hey, I am so tired of renting an apartment. My credit score has gotten to a point where I can put a down payment on a house. And the way to do that is to have those cash reserves. If I've got that money sitting in either an investment or an account somewhere that's just sitting there earning interest and working for me, I've got the freedom to do a lot of things. After a year, if you've saved $5,000 to $10,000, you have changed your life. There are people out there that are saving hundreds, plenty of times over the numbers that we're talking about in this video. But the little bit of savings, that 200 that you save every month, could not only redefine your future, but it could leave a legacy for those that come behind you. Say for my sister who is saving money, if she were able to put $200 a month into an IRA for 30 years from now, she would not only be able to retire, but she could keep working and leave that money there for the future for her daughters and sons. If a legacy is something you're thinking about. I think we've gone over a lot here. It's been like an hour. I hope I didn't overwhelm you with some of the tools. I think it's been really exciting to get into this topic of money, because that is something that people are so worried about, especially coming out of doing drugs and alcohol. People are worried about getting a job. They're worried about the money they're going to have to spend to live in their daily life. I'm looking at a comment here from Mary Lou. She says, are you also incorporating spendings on miscellaneous items such as, I don't know, a ring, a wet? Okay. Mary Lou, I'm going to put this live on a social media platform while I've got it. She and I are not thinking about that right now. That's not in the immediate future. And whether, I do that or not is my choice, not her choice. I get to choose. Ahaha. I'm in power. I'm in control. Boom, shakalaka. She's laughing at me, looking at me like I'm an idiot. I think we're building a future that's stable and one that we're excited about because we don't have to worry so much. Worry is what gets me stuck up here. And for anyone that's got racing thoughts or gets stuck in their head thinking about money, that can destroy relationships and it can destroy personal lives. I think relationships need to have an open conversation about the dollars in their pockets. You need to talk with your significant other about the things, the number of what's in your wallet and in your checking account needs to be a daily occurrence. If you've got an open conversation about who's making what's making what, who's responsible for paying these bills, it's probably going to be a lot easier than if you put that stuff behind you and don't take care of it till later. I know that right now is a tough time because we're all at home, we're under a quarantine, and we can't get anywhere really. If you were thinking about cleaning houses, good luck. We're lucky people are letting us into their homes to fix granite countertops right now. And I think that a lot of people are worried about where their money is and where it's going. Maybe they're stuck at home, not at work, and they're not earning any money. And be it or not, it's probably impossible right now to get into applying for workers' comp, or not workers' comp. What's it called? Unemployment. Yeah. I bet that's just an absolute nightmare. So if you are in that situation, we'll be praying for you and hope that everything turns out okay. I think we're excited tomorrow because we get to bring in somebody with an incredible story that can share and add to our library for our community that's out there. We've got this podcast being recorded right now. That'll be another episode added to what will be an echelon of episodes for people to listen to at work and or other places where they can't do video. We're excited about where we're going with this Tell Your Story platform. I think in the future, we're going to build something here that's super exciting, that can help others and reach a community of folks that we never otherwise would have been able to do sitting in a recovery meeting or something like that. An open platform of people being able to share their life story and their example of hope and faith and how to move forward is so powerful. So thank you for being here today. And I hope maybe some of this discussion stuck with you. If you have any questions, feel free to find us in the comments section or to find us on Instagram, where we answer plenty of any question that's sent to us via message. And I look forward to next Friday where we'll talk about a different topic. I have no idea what that topic's going to be, but we're going to figure it out throughout the week. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you guys soon. All right. Peace.